Hello. Yeah, so I'm hoping that you could hear me. I'm hoping you could hear me. So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. So we are going to be continuing from where we stopped in our previous class. So last week, what we got so far was just the notes. We set up two pages: the home page, the about page. I believe you can see my screen. Yeah, so the home page, the about page, so the notes page. So we get to see each notes. We can click on it, and we also have the back button. So today we are going to be completing this app today. So the first thing we are going to do, we are going to add a modal. Okay, so that modal will enable us to be able to add our own. So it will be like a pop-up. It will be like a pop-up. So let's get started with that. Okay, let me share my screen. So what I have here, this is just basically the same project folder I was using from the previous lesson. Um, I don't think my screen is being shown. One second. Okay, so yeah, I guess my screen is showing now. Yes. So now what we have from last time. So this is just the files that we had. So inside our screen folder, we have a a home folder. So in that home folder, in that home.js file, that's our home screen. We're going to import a library, and the library that from the React Native library. So we're going to import modal. We're going to import this modal. So now let's add the modal to our app. Modal, just add it by writing it. It's a component. So we just write modal set and we cover it with angle braces. So now what we now have here, each modal it has to have a visible prop. So that will now let us determine whether it's visible or not. And to handle whether it's visible or not, we are going to use some states because from our last class, we know that states can easily be changed. So what we'll have is modal open. So we're going to use a use state. So the variable is going to be called modal open. And we will have a function to set that state. So we'll call it set modal open, and that's react.toState. So by default, it's going to be false because by default, we don't want it to be open. So we just pass in here modal open. Okay, and also this is not supposed to be this way. It has a closing tag. Yes, that's that. So now we now need inside it. We need something we want to let's add an animation to our model. Let me bring this up. So the animation we want to add to our model, we can see animation type and we can call it slide, or the animation type slide. Yeah, sorry about that. So back to where we were. So now we can now we have our modal. This is how we can control whether it's open or not using these states, and we set the animation to slide. So inside our modal now, we want to display something. So we have to keep inside a view. So for now, let's just display some text. Let's just say hello world, and let's give this our view a style, and we style it with it's one of our global styles that we created previously, and we call it global styles. That's the container style we're going to use. So now inside our model, what we have is just this text. This is just what we have in our model, sorry. Just this text hello world. And we need it. Now let's add an icon that we can use to control it. So we import that from material icons. We import material icons. So the material icon we're going to use, I'm going to say the name, I'm going to say its name of, let's say close, and we want to set the size to 24. Okay. So on press, when we click it on press, what do you want to happen? We will just say set modal open to false. That's that. So now inside our main screen, let's now also have another material icon. So this close is an icon just like an X. So we now have another icon name add. That's going to be a plus. So the size is going to be 24, and on press, the on press is just going to be the same thing. Set modal open. That's just set modal open to true. So now let me save this and preview. Let's now preview what we have. So let me share the app screen. Let me share the app screen. Okay, so I'm now sharing the app screen now. So now we see that if we click on this plus, the modal slides in from the top. If we click on the close, the modal closes back. So you can see this opening, closing, opening, closing. So remember, we specify the animation type as slide. That's why it's sliding in from the top. So there are other types of animation like fade, and lots of other ones. So you can take up online and customize, and you can just customize it however you want. But slide, like I feel slide is very nice for this. So just you can click this plus slides in, we enter our stuff, then we can close it. But before we move forward, let's style this material icons. So let's style them. So so first thing we need to do, we need to create the styles. So to create those styles inside our styles folder, our global.js, we'll create some styles. So the first, we're going to create a couple of styles, but I already have them here. So, so what I'm just going to do, okay, let's just even okay. So what I'm going to do, I'll just bring in those styles. Okay, I think since we don't need, we're not going to use these styles any other place. I think it might even just be better if we just use it in the home components. So first thing we are just going to need, just say const styles, that's our styles, will now be equals to style sheets dot create. So yes, we're going to create our styles. So now I'll just bring in those styles since I already have them already to save our time. So what we have here is a modal toggle button. That's just some basic styles. Justify the content center, some margins, some borders and all. So the modal close. So we are just adding a little bit of margin at the top because when the modal is open, you don't want the close button to be like bumping the like very top of the screen. And also just the modal contents, we just set that to a flex. So now let's now use our style. So now the first thing I'm going to do is instead of using this view as container, we'll just change this to modal content, and we can even bring this in Can bring this in right here. Can bring this in right here. Yes, then now, okay, so change the styles already. So now this, we now set the styles equals to. So now the thing with this now is going to be a little bit different. So because now we know that we want to use two styles, we want to implement two styles, the modal close and the modal toggle. So the way we can do that is specifying an array. So we're now saying inside this array, what are the two styles? We'll specify the two styles, modal, modal toggle dot modal close. So these are the two styles we are going to be using. So you know, normally if I'm specifying a style, just say style equals to, then we specify the style. But if this is how we use multiple styles on one particular component. So now on this one, now we are going to add the style for styles.modal toggle. So now it's just implementing this style. So like now everything will now look much more better. So now let me share the app screen so we'll see what we have now. Okay, let me reload this. One moment, still loading up. Okay, I even forgot to import style sheets from the React Native, so we'll just add that in. We'll import style sheets from React Native. So now you now see that this is now styled. Let me adjust the border color to white. Okay, so yes, we can see that. Let me give this a width of 2, a width of 2. Okay, so now this looks more defined. So if we click on this, we get this open. Or let me just change it to black. Let me just change the border to black. You can see it on both screens. So yeah, so now this is it. We click on this, it opens, we close it. We can open and close the modal now. So that's just how we control the modal. Now you can open and close the modal. So now next thing we want to add the form where we'll input our notes. That's going to be the next thing we're going to be doing. So now let's go back to our VS Code. Mm, Okay, so now we're back in VS Code. So the first thing we want to do, we're going to have to install a package, and that is going to be form. So just say yarn add form pick, and yeah, that's just installs the package that we need. Okay, so okay, that's still let's wait for that to complete. Okay, so wait for that to complete. Okay, so that is done. Okay, so now the next thing we are going to do now is inside our screens folder, we create a new screen and we just call it form.js. Then when that is done, we just import some basic things that we are going to need. We just make some basic imports that we're going to need. So we are just importing React, we are importing our view, global styles, form, text inputs, and button. So this will just have export default function, and we'll call the function form, and the form is going to return some templates to us. So the first thing we're going to have is so yeah, we'll have a view. We'll have a view, wrap everything in a view, and the style will be container. Then we now have our formic tag. So yeah, so inside the formic we take it's going to have some few props. So the first thing we're going to give it is initial values. So remember in our home.js, remember all our notes, it has two fields, title and body. So the initial values will have is title, that will be an empty string initially, then body, that will also be an empty string initially. Yeah, so these are both empty strings. Then after this, we also need another thing on submit. So this will be called when we submit the form. So now it's going to this gives us two parameters, values and actions. So the values are this, like the values that we have here, the title and the body, and action. This allows us to do some special things that we'll get into later on. So the first thing we're going to do now is we can just console log our values. We can just log our values to the console when we submit. So, okay, for now let's not use this. I'll explain this later on. So let's just log our values to the screen. So yes, so that's that. We'll just log our values to the screen. So now inside our formic tags, so now we now want to actually like put in like the inputs that we're going to use. And yeah, we're going to need to put in the inputs that we're going to use. So but before we even do that, first we have to take in some props. Take in some props. So these props, we'll wrap it up with curly braces because it returns some GSX. So these props now are like those are gives us access to our values, so we can work with that, we can display them how we want. So what we are going to have, we're going to have a first let me so what we're going to be returning, yeah, we're going to be returning we need two text inputs. We need the text input, we need another text input, and we also need a button. We also need a button. Okay. So let's not wrap everything in a view. Let's wrap everything in a view. So one text input will be for the title, the other text input will be for the button. So for this one, we're going to give it some few things. So firstly, it's going to have a style. Firstly, it's going to have sorry, okay. Okay, yeah. So first, it's going to have a style, and that will be global styles or input. We've not created this yet, but we'll still create that later on. So that's just like some basic styles for it and all. So now we'll need to give it an initial value. So what it's going to be its values, props or values or title. So what we want this input to display is whatever we have here. And when we now change, so on change, we want to say props.change handler title. So what is going to happen is that anytime we change what is here, it will update the title here, and the title here is going to be what we are displaying here. What we're displaying here. So when we change or type something, it takes it, updates it here, and whatever is here is what is being displayed here. So that's going to be how it works. Then we can just give it a placeholder. That's what will be displayed in the input. So they will know what to enter. That's the title. So this also we're going to use here. We're going to use the same. We're going to be using the same things. This will be body. This would also be body, and this would be body. This will be body. Yes. So now our button, what we can just do, we can just give our button a title submit and the color, let's just say black. Let's just say black. So now on submit. So when we submit, this on submit is now going to just say props or handle submit. Then this now calls this when we, so when we click on this, so it's supposed to be on press, not on submit. So this, when we press this button, it now triggers this on. We call this props or handle submit, triggers this on submit. So whatever we have inside this on submit is now going to be what will be run. So for now, we are just logging this to the console. So now let's save that. So okay, even before we even go forward, let's in our home screen, let us import it. So we import form from import it from current directory slash form. Yeah, so we import the form, and instead of displaying this text, we just display the form. Also, let's just quickly add in our styles. So the styles again, it's just creating some basic styles. I already have them here. So yeah, just border width of 1. The color this like a dark kind of gray. Give it some padding, increase the font size, border radius, margin bottom. You can also maybe set the font family to Poppins regular. So that's just some basic styles that we are going to be using. Also, I also forgot inside our, let's go back to our form. In our form.js, we are supposed to import button, button, and also text input. So we just import those two things. Okay, I've already imported. Okay, so this is not, this came by default, but yeah, that this is what we're going to use. Okay, I didn't even spell button right here. Button, yes. Okay, and again, I'm just saying now that this has even auto imported for us, but that is not what we are going to use. Yes. So now let's now go to our app. I think there are no more errors again. So now let's look at what we have again. Let's look at what we have again. So now this is what we have. Let me close this out. So now this is what we have. So this is what our form looks like right now. We have a title, we have a body, submit. So let's just type, maybe title is hello, and the body is, let's say something in the body. And when we click submit, if you check your console, you'll see that I logged in and logged an object first that has title, hello world, and body, something in the body. So that's just basic stuff. So yes, that's it's just logging in for now. But what we actually want, we don't want it to log, we want it to add it to our notes, to our note state, so we can see everything in our home screen. So that's what we're going to be doing next. Okay, the screen just came up. Now let me just demo that again. So let us say hello, and if you now have here something, you click submit, and if you click your mobile, your console, you see it in your console. So we have title, we have the body. We can close out of this. We can open this again, and yes, so that's where we are at now. So the next thing that we're going to now do is when we now click on submit, we don't want to log into the console. What we want to do is that we want to add it to this. So now let's go to that. Let's go back to our VS Code and let's work on that. Okay, so now this is what we have now. So the first thing we are going to do is in this form component, we're going to take in a prop. So yeah, we are going to need to pass in a prop. So to access that prop, we just put in inside the parentheses, curly braces. Then we now put in, let us call it handle submit. So we're going to send in that function. from the home screen. So now inside our form.js, what we are going to do now is inside our on submit, instead of logging this to the console, we're going to call this handle submit and we pass in these values that we have here. Yes, so and also one more thing that we're going to do. When we submit it, we want to reset the form. So we just see actions dot set form. So that will just like set everything back to its initial value. So actions, that's a lot of other things that we can do. So like these actions, let's us help us to create more complex forms. But for now, this is just what we're going to do. Actions dot reset form. So that's what we're going to do. So now in our home.js, what we are going to do is that we're now going to create a new function. So let's just say const, let's just call it add notes. Also, just a reminder that all the code here is going to be in a GitHub repository. So I'll share that with you at the end of the class. So like the first lesson and this lesson, all the codes are going to be there. So you can have access to them, tweak it how you want. So the first thing we are going to do, so this add notes. So what we want to do inside this function is that we want to update the states that we have. We want to update these notes. These notes that we have here, we want to update it. So the first thing I'm going to do is that, if you look at this, each note has something that has a key. So in React, when we are displaying objects, like rendering multiple objects, see here we are rendering multiple things with a template. So when I'm doing something like this, each of them has to have a unique key. So that's why each of them have a unique number. I just set 1, 2, 3. So now, first thing we need to do, we're going to take in our notes. We are going to give this note a key, a unique key. It can be like a unique number or string or anything. So what I'm just going to do is just going to say math dot random. That will give us a random number. Then we can just say dot to string. So we just convert it to a string. So this math dot random it gives us something between 0 and 1. So it can be any 0.0000 something. So it's just and it is going to be this like random enough. So now we want to now set our notes. We want to set the notes. What do we want to set the notes to? So our notes inside an array of objects. So first thing we specify the array. So inside the array, we first want to have the notes. So we're taking this our current notes and everything inside our notes, we want to put it inside. So that's what this three dots does. So it takes this and brings out everything inside. As the same thing as writing everything one by one, one by one, one by one, all our notes one by one. But this way, this is called the structuring. So we are just like breaking down our notes and displaying everything one by one. So after we've added this our notes, then we'll now want to add this notes that was given to us. So we'll now add this notes. We'll add this notes that was given to us. Then when that's all is done, we've updated our notes. Now to close our modal. So we just say set modal open. Then we'll set that to false. So this is just closing our modal after we've displayed all our notes. Yes. So now this will take this add notes. So now what do we want to do? So inside our form, so when we submit, we need to pass in something that will handle the submit. So that's this add notes. Remember, we've already taken this earlier, this handle submit as a prop earlier, then on submit, we call the handle submit, pass in the values, that's the title and the body. And in our home, the function is add notes. So this add notes is taking the notes. That's what we passed in here. It's taking it here. Then it's giving it a key. Then storing it for us. Then we're now closing the modal. That's just what it's going to be doing. So now let's test it out. Let's see how that works. Let's see how that works. Okay, so now I don't know why the screen this the screen takes some time to come up before sharing. But okay, yes, so this that. So now if we click on this, let's just give it a title hello, and let's give it a body something. Let's say something. If you now click on it, okay, why is this not working? Okay, if we go to hmm, let me see what is wrong. Let me see what is wrong. Okay, I think hold on, let me try to debug this and see if this works. Let's try it again. Type something. Okay, I've seen. Okay, so inside our home.js file, so I wrote set notes instead of set notes. I forgot to add the S at the end. So now I think I've changed that, and this should work now. Let's just say hello world and just have welcome. So if you click on submit, yes, it works. It's added. You can click on this and go back. Let's add one more thing. Let's call this let's say meta, and let's say welcome to the metaverse. Click on submit. Yes, so we have this meta. Welcome to the metaverse. So now that is that. Now we've added the another thing we can even do. Let me see. Okay, so let's go through what I've done so far. We've added our form screen. We've done the styling. We've added the add notes functions. So I think that's it basically. So now the next thing we want to go into is validation. So that's the next thing I want to do. So like now if someone just enters W and just enters another just one character, we don't actually want this to go in. We don't want this. So what we are going to do now, we're going to do something called validation. So that's like checking whether what the user entered is whether it's correct or not. So how we are going to do that, I'm going to use a library called yup. So the first thing we are going to do, open our terminal, then we just say yarn add yup. But actually, all these things we can actually do that by ourselves inside this our handle submits. Inside this on submits, we can do all those errors to be checking whether what they entered in the title and the body. Write some codes there to check whether it is valid or whether it's not valid. So I'm guessing you can see my screen now. I think you can see my screen now. So now first thing we do just yarn add the yup. So yup. So that just installs yup. So it's just a library that allows us to do validation. It's just a library that allows us to do some validation. Now I'm not sure if my screen is still showing. My screen is not showing. Okay, it's showing now. So yeah, so what we just did yarn add yup. So we installed the package already. So once that is installed, the first thing we are going to do, we are going to hop into home.js. So now the first thing we are going to create the validation rules. That's what we're going to create, the validation rules. So those validation rules, that's like how we now used to say whether what they entered is like valid or whether it's not valid. So now to create that, what Yob provides with us is before we even get into that, let's just first import Yob. So we just import star, that's all, as Yob from Yob. So we import all as Yob from Yob. So after we've imported that from Yob, the first thing we are going to do is we'll create, so let us call it, let's use a constant. So this will be note schema. So now it's going to be a Yob object. Okay. So that Yob object, just let us specify some rules. So the rules, so the specs or whatever I specify is going to be inside an object. So we know that okay, our notes has two things, title and body. Okay, so now let's start with title. So what are the rules that I want to add to the title? What rules do we want to give our title? So firstly, the title every note must have a title. So we'll say Yob dot required. Am I spelling this right? Required. Yes. Okay. Then here we can add the custom message. So this just allows we can add the custom message. Let's just say title is required. So we can now have something else. What must this be? It must be a string. But by default, it already provides us with messages. But let's just remove this out. But if you want to, you can just add this in, or maybe for like some fun or very cool messages, you can just put that in there. Well, for now, let's just leave it this way. So firstly, it's required. Also, it must be a string, and let's just say it must have a minimum length of, let's give it 6. Let's say 7. Let's have a minimum length of 7. So title must be at least 7 characters. And also our body. So the body, firstly, our body is required. That's the first thing. It must be a string, and let's give it a minimum characters of, let's say, 16. 16 characters. Okay. So yes, so these are the rules that are going to be guiding whether something is valid or not in our form. So first thing, let's even pass this schema to our form. So in our form, we pass in a schema, then that will be our node schema. Okay, so yes, this our schema is going to be node schema. So this title, the body, so that's that. So now our node schema, inside our form, we are going to take that schema, take its schema, then let's say we now say here validation schema. So this validation schema was specifying the schema. So like this schema, a way of looking at what the schema is, just like a set of rules that just guides whether this is a valid note or not. So if it's not valid, it won't. When we click on submit, if this returns false, if it's not true, it won't execute what we have here. So like these are just the rules. So we are saying the title is required, it must be a string and a minimum of 70 characters. The body is required, it must be a string and it must be a minimum of 16 characters. So basically those are just the rules that are guiding this. So now let's look at our app and we'll see that in action. So we'll see that in our app screen. Okay, I'm not getting I'm not getting an error. So let's look at what could possibly be the error. I'm sure if you are following along, you possibly be getting the same thing that I'm getting. Okay, so I think the error is I think spell required correctly. Or yeah, I think I spelled it correctly. let me try bringing this. Let me try making the string first. Okay, let's do this way. I think that was what was affecting. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we can't even start with required first. Like, wow, that's news to me. But yeah, so this is it. So string required minimum length, string required the minimum length. So inside our parentheses for supplying custom error messages, supplying custom error messages. So yeah, that's that. So now let's go to our app and we'll see that if we don't follow those rules, like it won't submit, like nothing will happen. So let me share my app screen with you. Okay, yes. So okay, first let me reload this. Okay, so this is all we have. Now I won't even enter anything. I'll click on submit. Nothing is happening. It's not submitting. Let me just type in some things. I click on submit, not even saying happening. Let me just keep in 5 characters in submit. Nothing is happening. Okay, now let me add some more so it will be up to 16. I think it's up to 16. Okay, yes. So now that's when it actually worked. That's when it actually got submitted. So now the first next we are going to look at is putting in custom error messages. Custom error messages. Because now we can see now if like now see this is not up to 7 and click on submit, it's just not doing anything. You don't know what is happening. So now let's add those error messages to it. So let me share my VS Code screen so we'll get to look at how that works. Get to look at how that works. Okay. All right. So I guess my screen is not showing. Mm, okay. Yeah, my screen is. I think yeah, it's showing now. So now what we're going to do now is now go to our form. So first we are going to import texts. We are going to need to use these texts. We're going to import that. So now inside our view, under this, let us add this as let us add text and we'll give it a style. That will be global styles dot error. Let's call it error text. So inside here, okay, and now we're going to use what we call short circuits in JavaScript. So short circuiting is just a way that we can execute a particular command based on whether another command gives us true or false. So firstly, so short circuiting, like let's say if we have, let me just write something. So let's say if we have true and we keep double ampersands, true and let's just say cage. So, but let's imagine this is like some complex, very complex function. So if it returns true, that's when it will now display H inside this text. But if this is false, it will not do whatever is here. But if another thing we can have is or. So if this is false, it will now check what is here. Then it will now do display whatever is here. Or this can also be something that is false. But let's now see, let's imagine this way that we are getting our in the name of the user from an API. Let us say this is supposed to be a name of the user. Let us say it's a variable name. But if name is empty, it will now come and maybe display default name. But let's say if there's something inside name, it will just display name and stop here. But if it's and, if this has like, if this name has a value, it will now come here. Yeah, but if it's true, once it's already, if it's or once it's already satisfied to stop, like if it's already satisfied here to stop here. But here, if it's and now, that's us. But if what we have here is and, it will do this. If it's true, it will come here. But if it's false, it will just stay here. But for all, if this double lines here, this or once it's true, if this is true, it just stops there, it just rests like that. So that's short circuiting X. That's just like a brief explanation of what short circuiting is. That's what I'm going to be using here. So the first thing I'm going to have, so say props dot touch dot title. So that's like if you are on the props, like if you've clicked on that props, yes, and well, if this is true or not, that will now determine whether I want to display the title, the error message. So if you've clicked on this, so we'll now come here, now say props dot errors dot title. Yeah, I think I got that right. Yes, props dot errors dot title. So if you clicked on the title and there is an error, it will display the error. But if there's no error, it will not display anything. So that's the same thing. We'll still have the same thing here. And this will now be props dot touch dot body and props dot error dot body. So yes, so that's what we have now. So this is just, so if you click on the body, it will show the error in the body. If you click on the title, it will show the error in the title. So now that we have that already, next thing that we are going to do now is let's give this a style. I think that's what next we are going to do. Let's create this error text style. So just say error text. What we can do, color crimson. So this crimson, it's like a form of red, like a form of red. Let me just copy this other styles that I have here. Those basic styles, capitalize, font family, maybe some margin. So yeah, I think that's that. So I think that's that. So now let's test that out. Let me share the app screen. Okay, yes. So now this is the screen now. So let's say if I let me not type in. Let me just click on submit. Okay, title is required, body is required. It's required. We didn't give you anything, so it's showing us this error. Now let's type in something. Let me type in some text. Okay, let me just type in something there. Yeah, so it's saying me that okay, you have to input 7 characters. Let me input 7 characters. Maybe I click on submit. I need to input 16 characters. Okay, it's already satisfied. And I can click on submit and it's added. So that's that. Now we've added validation, we've done the modal. So what we've done today, the modal, the form, and we've also done the validation. So yeah, I think this is just like the app is like basically completed. But one more thing we can do. So I forgot to mention this. So React Native, it doesn't give us an option to style our buttons. So I don't even know why that is, but that's just how it is. So if we even add like give write some styles for button and we pass it into it won't take effect. So what is most commonly done is that we create our own custom button. So not really like a custom button, we just have a text and wrap that text with a touchable opacity. So that's what I'm going to do here again. So let's just do that right away. Let's do that right away. Okay, let me share my screen. Yeah, so my screen is being shared. Yeah. So okay, let's start. So now what I am going to do now is inside our form.js, instead of having this button, let's first import what we're going to need touchable opacity. We're going to need that touchable opacity. Yes, so I'm going to import that. So the first thing, we're also going to have touchable opacity, close it, and inside it we're going to have a text. So now inside the touchable opacity, so we're just going to move what we have there I'm just going to move what we have there before. Okay, instead of touchable opacity, it's supposed to be pressable. I just realized that it's supposed to be pressable, not touchable opacity. Pressable, then we, instead of this, okay, it's already imported for us by default. So, okay, so now this on press, it does bring this here and it does give this a style, what we call the style. Let us say global styles dot button. The style equals to global styles dot button, and also what we now have again is text. What do we call? Let us say this is submit, and the text will now be style. Let us call the style. We'll call the style global styles dot button text. Okay, so button and button text. So now let's just add those styles. So I've already written that already. So once again, all the code I'm using here, they're all on my GitHub profile. I'll share the link after this. I'll share it with you guys. So yeah, so this is it. So this is also basic style, black, button color, but the text color white, font size, font weight, font family. But yeah, those some basic styles for the button. Let's now, I think so. Before I even like go to the final demo, let us walk through like everything we've done so far. So let us go to the beginning. So in our app.js, that's like the main file. We're importing the React Native gesture handler. So that like for the dragging that side navigation. So we have the main drawer. So fonts loaded, we're loading the fonts using use font. So I imported that from Expo fonts. Remember, we have to also import this package, that add this package using and same thing for Expo loading. So yeah, we have this uploading component. So if the font is not loaded, show this uploading component. I remember I told that this uploading component, it just displays this splash image. You can even configure it inside our package dot, sorry, our app.json. You can configure the splash image. So when it's loading, it just shows like an image, or it can be a GIF or some kind of animation. So we can configure all that here, the icon, the orientation. So portrait is the default. Landscape is when it's like it gets your face. So yeah, that was portrait. I think everybody should know what I mean. Portrait, landscape. So yeah, we can just customize different things inside this package app.json. Sorry, app.json. So we can just customize different things that we want, background color, different things. So yeah, the package name, something. So yeah, this package name has to be something unique. Yeah, just something unique. So that's that. So now where was I? I was in app.js. So if the font is not loaded, it shows the app loading. Then when it's done loading, it returns the main drawer. So inside our main drawer, what do we now have? So our main drawer, we have this navigation container and our drawer navigator. The initial is home stack, that's the initial route. Then the screen options, we're not showing the header because remember we created our custom header components. Created our custom header components and the fonts family poppins regular. So now the screens, the home stack and the about stack. Remember that we wrapped our screens inside. Okay, let's even go to the home stack. So remember our home stack, we are using a stack navigator that has two screens. The about stack only has the about screen. So inside the home stack, we're displaying these home components and we can also navigate to the notes components. But if you now go to the about stack, it's just only the about screen that is there. And this header that we're using, that's the custom header that we created, just an icon for the to open the site navigation and image and the title that I want to display. So yeah, that's just that. So the home stack, that's the same thing with the header. We can pass props. we get access to props. So that's how we are setting the custom title, the custom header title on the note screen. So let's go to the home screen. So the home screen, we have these are note schema rules guiding what a valid note is. This is used to control whether our note is opened or not. These are default notes we have. This function to add a new note, and here we are displaying all our notes in a flat list. So those help us to display everything that we have, like just loop through an array and display everything inside. That's how I'll explain it. If you want to display multiple things of the same nature, use a flat list. So this is just an icon to pop up that screen open. Then that's our modal. Our modal is just like an overlay on the main screen. So yeah, and these are just some styles for the modal. So to create a style sheets.create, we're importing the style sheets from React Native. And yeah, the about. So the about screen, we didn't even really do much in the about screen. But I think with this, you should be able to maybe add some other text to it, add some other things, just make it nice. Then the note screen, yeah, we're just displaying the title and the body. Then the form screen, we're using formic as we discussed earlier. We're now displaying the inputs that we need. These are custom button. So that's just all we've done so far. So with this, we've actually covered a lot. We've covered screens, we've covered navigation, we've used modals, form input validation. Another way you can actually take this like a step further is using local storage. So like when we add a note, it's already automatically stored, and you can also maybe even like add maybe the dates. That can be another thing we want to add to our notes. So yeah, just different things. So you can just I actually encourage you to maybe like try to take it further. So let's even go through the app. Let's see what we've built. So yeah, this is it. So we can click on this, the home, come here. Okay, we didn't even change this. I'm just saying this now. So you can actually just change that. So just set a title for it. So this the about page, home, about, home. You can click on the notes. You can click on the notes. You can see what is there. We can add. Let's say hello world. Um, welcome to a beautiful world. So submit. So yeah, I think this is very like, so the thing is that after this, React Native is very wide. There's a lot of things to learn, but this with this you should be able to start off learn other things. So I think this is very good. What we've built so far, this is very nice. This is a very good thing. So I think with that should be all. So I hope everyone has learned some things from this. Also, let me go to my GitHub profile so I can let me share. Mm, okay, yeah. So okay, my screen is not showing. I'm not sure. Okay, okay, yeah, it's showing now. So this is GitHub basically. It's just a very nice way of displaying your code online. So let's go to repositories. So this is the repository. So it's public, so anybody can have access to it. So I would add the link to the comment section. Okay, I also add it to the chat. Yeah, so that's the link. So that's the link. Then here, so okay, so let me even explain how I went about it. So I just broke it down into the whole app into 13 lessons. So throughout those 13 lessons, you can just I like different points. So here, That's we added the custom button. So lesson 12, what do we do? Okay, let me click on this. Let's see what we did here. Um, sorry, let's see. No, this is not what I'm trying to get. Okay, let's just open this way. So validation schema, that's what we did in this lesson 12. Then lesson 11, what did we do in lesson 11? Form contents. So we added our form basically. Lesson. So yeah, for each lesson, lesson 5, let's see what do we do in lesson 5? We moved between screens, passing data. Then let's see lesson 9, card. We did the card components there. So for each lesson, then the separate branch, so you can see everything that we've done. So lesson 13, this is like the full app, this is like the completed app. So the app, so you can easily build just in your terminal, just run expo build. It will take you through all the steps to build the app. You can even publish it on Play Store if that's something that interests you. So React Native, as we discussed earlier, it works for both Android. It also works for both iOS. So now what we just did now, we don't need to start writing another code. Maybe write one code for Android, write another code for iOS. Like React Native, we just created an Android and an iOS app at the same time. So that's like something very amazing. So that's that. So that's all that for the basic introduction to mobile app development with React Native. So thank you all for your time and have a nice day.